Hello, Sharif here. And I want to introduce to you one of our keepers, one of our wisdom teachers, one of our elders, and from an elder culture on our planet. His name is Max Harrison, and he's got something to say. Let's take a look.
So when I was this young teenager, I was told to sit on my butt for hours and watch the ocean come in from both sides, and you'd see the water hit and splash, and then go down, and then run to this pool. And they set me in the right place, these uncles and grandfather of mine. So I thought, what am I doing? Agitated, and I knew the old fellas was ready to chuck a bundy at me. So I sat down again, and I worked the bum, into the ground, and I sat there and I walked again, and 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 for hours. And then they said to me, "You had enough now." Had enough of what? So, well, so you got to come back tomorrow. You got to watch this. You got to watch this when that moon comes. You got to watch this when grandmother moon comes up, and you watch the change of the water. Oh, I said, so what am I watching? You're watching the fish traps, and these fish traps were done some 12, 13,000 years ago, and your two waters are coming in like this both ways and splashing up. And when they bring when the water comes in and bring the fish in, and then the stones are set and it's channeled down to this great big pool, and that's where these fish are then taken. But the miraculous thing about that is to be able to sit there and watch the movement of Grandmother Moon. Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun are the two important things of of living on Mother Earth and looking at Father Sky. They're very important. They're very important grandparents and parents, besides our flesh, grandparents and parents.
So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is my Uncle Max Dulamunmun Harrison.
Thank you.
Max Dulamunmun Harrison is or was one of the wise men, the keepers of a cultural tradition that goes back 100,000 years and possibly more. My question is referring to him as Uncle Max sufficiently respectful of both himself, his position, and his culture? One of the things that I was struck by was the fact that um, Portland, Oregon, one of the whitest cities in America, um, had a symphony orchestra who had a black conductor. And I said, whoa, that's a rarity in the world, having an African American conductor and having them in a city like Portland. So in the worlds I was traveling in at the time, I would come into the view of um, Maestro de Priest, and most of the time not to talk to. I was like a few feet away from him. He was in lunch or something like that, but we would make eye contact, and I'd give him a bow, and he would kind of wave back. But once we had a chance for me to meet him, and he said something to me, and he said the same thing to everybody. And I want to play you this clip because the clip starts with that conversation.
One of my first rehearsals, I came up to him with a question, and I said, Maestro de Priest, and he went, call me Jimmy. He was Jimmy, and he was Jimmy to everyone.
He is a dreamer. He is a poet. He is a fabulous musician.
He was such an astute man. He was so smart, so knowledgeable, so approachable.
He broke a lot of boundaries and set records and a lot of really groundbreaking innovations.
Jimmy was loved by everybody.
I think that's true. He probably was loved by everyone. I did. Everyone I saw him perform in concert a number of times, and he is brilliant. So it was a downtown restaurant. I was going in as he was coming out, and we had a chance to actually speak to each other. And I said, Maestro de Priest. And he held his hand up and said, no, call me Jimmy. And I thought for a second, I'm just sitting there staring at him. And I said, no. I said, you worked too hard for me to call you that. I said, if we're, out somewhere having a beer, etc., you can be Jimmy, but you need to be the maestro. You need to have me say to you, Maestro de Priest. It keeps both of us straight. And then he looked at me like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And I went on to say, I saw him in such and such, conduct such and such a concert, and I really appreciated it, and thanks a lot. And my lunch date was waiting for me, and his lunch date was waiting for him, so we split. I don't know if that altered his arc at all, but I think that we are too quick with asking people to look past our accomplishments, look past our nobility, look past our innate value as a human being, as a living being, as an agent of the divine, and say, oh yeah, you're a caricature, you are someone I can look down on. You don't have to, and especially when people are doing this with people of color, you can be Aunt Jemima. You're my aunt. Oh, I love you. I pour you on my pancakes all the time. Or you can be Uncle Ben. He's the guy that's in the kitchen cooking. And we can forget that more than being these caricatures of human beings, that we can be that we can be worthy of respect. So you remember one of Martin Luther King's campaigns. He had people. This is the garbage workers strike. Had people wearing signs saying, "I am a man," and it's I'm going to be as friendly as I can be to you at all times, except when you ask me to treat you the way you yourself want to be treated. That we don't have to be relegated to some other position, even in fun. I think we have to take mastery seriously. It doesn't matter whether the mastery comes from being a keeper in the line of wisdom that goes back 100,000 years, or whether our mastery comes from our artistry and bringing the best out of a collection of people and making them into a symphony. I think that our mastery has to come from something that's very deep within us. And that deep thing, I think, is our connection to the spirit. And I think that that deep thing needs to be respected at all times.